In this video, we would learn about slopes and how do they exactly work in the context of character body 2D. How does the sliding occurs? How does the character walk smoothly along the slopes? And when is it considered as a slope and when is it considered as a floor? So the first question is, what is a slope? A slope is a surface that isn't perfectly horizontal. Anything with an angle is a slope. So if we are on 0 degree, it's a flat surface, and then anything above 0 is a slope. In our previous video, we saw how on floor and on wall works. So even if I'm standing on the slope, you can see on floor is true and on wall is false. But what happens if I go on a steeper slope? You can see the on wall was turned true when I was on the slope. If I do it again, the on wall becomes true and the floor becomes false. So it's basically saying that we are on a wall and not on a floor. How does Godot decide what is on the wall and what is on the floor? If you see our character body 2D, there is a property called max angle. This angle determines after what angle is the slope considered as a wall. So for example, the slope which we could walk on was 30 degrees and this slope from which we slid was 45 degrees. Now, if I make the max angle as 45, I should be able to walk up this ramp. If I run the scene, you can see I'm not sliding anymore. But if I go on a steeper ramp which is 60 degrees, I would slide. One more thing to note is that you can see the on floor is true now for the same slope where we were getting it as false, and the on wall is false here which we were getting as true. Now let's look at another important property in slopes, which is the snap length. I've set it currently to 10, I set it to 0 now, and if I run the scene, you can see while going down the player doesn't smoothly go down, instead it jitters. Even if I go on a different slope with a lower angle, it still jitters. But why does this happen? Let's go back to imagine this is a slope and this is your character. So the character is on the floor right now, but what happens when you press the right arrow key? It's in the air. Now obviously your gravity is acting on it, but it takes some time for the gravity to act. In the meantime, what about this gap? So this gap is not filled by anything. This is exactly where the snap comes in place. So if the snap length is 0, it won't snap at all. But if the snap length is something like 5, what would happen is if this is 5 pixels or less than 5 pixels, it would just snap it automatically. It won't wait for the gravity, it won't wait for anything. The Godot engine would directly pull it down and it would look like a flawless movement. But if it is greater than 5, it would do nothing. It would just stay in the air. That is what we want to actually show our jumps and other properties as well. So why can't I make the snap value insanely high to something like 200 and run the scene? And if I try to jump from this, you can see how my panda instantly snapped while going from here. So it considered that this is a slope and I have to snap it down. Even if I try it here, you can see it instantly snaps for any height that is less than 200 pixels. So to avoid this, we keep the value between 10 to 20 generally. You can configure it according to your game's need. And if you set it as 10 and if I run the games, you can see the panda is smoothly moving and it doesn't snap directly to the floor. Now the next property we would look is constant speed. So if you have noticed earlier, while moving down, we are moving very fast, but moving upwards feels kind of slow. To fix this issue, we have a constant speed property. If we turn it on and play, you can see we move down and up at the same speed. Now let's see what stop on slope does. So to demonstrate this, I would make a slight change to our code. We have if not on floor, then we apply gravity. I would remove this. So our gravity is being applied throughout whether we are on slope or we are not on slope. If I run the scene with stop on slope, you can see it's steady, I can jump, everything is normal, and I can stand on slope without moving an inch. But if I turn it as off, and if I run the scene, you can see our panda is moving down due to gravity. Now it's not because of the initial moment. To show this, I would just go back and I would stand here, and you can see it's still moving down due to gravity. That's how simple it is. Stop on slope is on, then it will stop on slope, and if it's off, it will move if any downward force is acted on it. Now let's see what block on wall does. So currently block on wall is false. To make it more visible, reduce the max angle to something like, let's say, 15. So I should not be able to climb our 30-degree slope with it, and we slide through it. But now if I try to move, you can see the panda is actually able to just kind of get on the platform, not able to move much, but yeah, you get the idea, right? And if I turn it on and if I go back to the same slope, the 30-degree slope, you can see it cannot even climb it. There is no movement. It is completely blocked because our on wall flag is true. So no movement when you're on wall. Simple as that. Now you have learned almost everything you need to know about slopes to create your own game. But if you want to learn more, there are still some more things. The first thing is the angle at which we collide. So I earlier showed you how this is 30-degree and our panda cannot move it if max angle is less than 30 degrees. The same goes for this slope. It is 45 degree slope, and if I have max angle less than 45 degrees, my panda cannot move. How does the panda actually detect its angle? Does it always get it at exact 45 degree? To see this, I have added a label floor angle and a method get floor angle on our player script to debug it. If I run the scene with our new debug, you can see the angle is being displayed. It's 0 degree when I'm flat surface, and you can see it's certain angle when I'm on a slope. Now we seem to be moving due to gravity. I would turn it off for now since we don't want gravity to affect it. So we would apply gravity only when we are not on the floor. I would also turn the max angle up a bit to like 45 degrees and I'd play the scene. So now when I'm on the 45-degree slope, you can see the angle here is not exactly 45, it's instead 44.84. What if I move a little bit left? It's 44.6, 44.8, 45.46. Now this is something because if you remember, our max angle defined here is 45, but we are at 45.46. The player should have slid, or if not slid, at least the on wall should have been true. This might seem counterintuitive and might seem like weird. So I actually looked up the Godot's source code to figure out what exactly was happening. And the real culprit for it was the floor angle threshold. So what exactly is the floor angle threshold and how does it affect our collisions? Now the direction that we get there is basically coming from an internal function which is set collision direction. So we get the direction in which our collision is taking place. So in case of our motion grounded, you can see on floor true is set basis this condition. If you look closely, it's getting the angle and the angle should be less than or equal to floor max angle plus a floor angle threshold. So what exactly is this floor angle threshold? If you see its value, it's defined as 0.01. So Godot is basically creating a buffer for our threshold. So if our angle is slightly above or slightly below the required then it considers it still as a floor. So if you were to convert the radians that was present 0.01 in our code to degrees, it would come out to be 0.57. So anything from the range 45 to 45.45 is still considered as a floor. So any angle like let's say 45.18 if we received would still be treated as a floor even though it is greater than our max angle, but it is still in our threshold limit. Now why does Godot need to do this? Why can't it set a perfect angle, and why were we getting our angles jittered? So what happens every movement is that the movement is not very simple. So every movement lot of stuff happens. So for example, if I move forward, it moves here. Then if I have snap in our place, it snaps down. If I don't have snap, gravity acts on it. Even if it snaps, gravity acts on it. So it is possible that the character collides multiple times or at multiple points. So let's take this as an example. So let's say in an instant Godot got this. So Godot might calculate two normals. Let's say this one and this one. You can see the character has collided at two different points. So it got two different normals and the difference would be pretty small, but there would still be a difference. There would not be a specific angle. So if I move again, it is very possible that it detects this collision, and sometimes it detects this one, and sometimes maybe this one. So you cannot guarantee that the raw angle would be same, but since we have a threshold in our place, it wouldn't matter really that much. Now, if you're tired with the theory, let's try and do something really cool. You have seen how this all works, but what's the limit of max angle? What if I set it as 180 degrees? Now, normally the slopes won't require it, it would be something around 30 to 45 degrees. But since Godot allows it, we set it. And if I jump here, you can see it's sticking. You can see I could just jump and stick to our slope. It shows angle of 135 degrees and here. So if you want any wall sticking mechanics, this would be a cool addition to make to your game. So today we covered the slopes in as much detail as we could. We even had to visit the Godot's official documentation to properly understand it. If you like such content, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.